All right, let's get started. All right, wow. Season finale, season 2 of the White Lotus. Um I don't know how to feel right now. Like I thought that was a pretty good finale. I think a lot of the theories were very off. But I think overall where they ended, it was strong. So let's jump into it a little bit. Okay, so all right, so let's dive into this, shall we? So the big murder at the end is Tanya. I kind of felt like, yeah, that made sense. It felt like, we sort of saw it all season. Like they led into it with Madam Butterfly. I think for me personally, I was like, I don't know, I was a little taken aback because I kind of thought it made sense to have her be there for the long haul and all these new seasons that we're gonna have. And then when you talk about like when you watch the post show with Mike White, like Mike is basically saying we wanted to keep her, but at the same time we felt like let's just get rid of her. I feel like there wasn't a lot of thought and consideration behind killing Tanya, other than the fact like based on he just wanted to do it. And again, this is just coming off of what he said. Now, what we saw, there were definitely some hints leading up to think that it was Tanya, the Madame Butterfly stuff. Like I said, the last season she said the only thing she hadn't experienced was death, and this whole season has been about sex. The first season was all about money, and I think it's not just sex; it's more the relationships, right? Because sex takes two. I think it's more about how people interact with others and sort of like how the wealthy per se suffer and struggle. Uh, we see Harper and Daphne and Cam and Ethan get into this big sort of love triangle mess. You can see throughout the series there was pineapples, and pineapples are usually a symbol for swingers and to meet people on cruises and things like that. So I sort of thought perhaps that they would swap partners at some point. I think I still believe that Harper didn't do anything. I truly believe that. I think Harper may have just gotten kissed by Ethan. I mean, by Cam, excuse me. But I think she didn't do anything. But I think Cam's or Ethan's mind was just running so crazy that he led into all these different ideas and theories. But overall, we see that Ethan decides he's going to. What I'm assuming is him and Daphne did something. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know. I'm gonna put a poll down below. Like, do you all think that? Do you put in the comments? Do you all think that Daphne and Ethan did things? I saw some people sort of think that it's open for interpretation, or whatever happened if she gave her if Daphne gave Ethan the same conversation she gave Harper to sort of peace and have that peace of mind. But I'm gonna go with that. They swapped partners. I think everyone lived sort of happily ever after. I was disappointed in the Lucia route. So it appears to me, and let me know, because again, this is still fresh, which is why I don't love doing live sometimes. I like to decompress, but it's cool. Whatever. We'll talk about it. I feel like Lucia played Albie, but at the same time, it felt like she felt bad about it, sort of similar to Jack, where Jack was like, "I know I'm in this game and this is all going on," but they both sort of felt like this was wrong. What I would have liked to see personally is I felt like, so we saw Portia kind of go down there's two paths that she could go. She could go with the bad boy, or she could go with the good guy. And Portia was someone who was coming from a place of privilege, an assistant to a millionaire person, right? And she was just sort of searching for, like, she had sort of peace, but she was searching for something bad. So she's in a good place and ends up in a bad spot. I thought that would be a better ending. I think Lucia coming from a bad place and having a solid or good ending, I think that would have made a little bit more sense to see how, there's two paths in life that you can take. You could continue to go towards the bad, manipulative, or whatever you want to say about Lucia's path, or you can go down a good path and sort of have an out. Because I mean, Albie's father did transfer that money, and the reason why he did that, you know, I think it's open for interpretation. Like we said throughout this entire series, it's hard to sort of pin Dom. I feel like Dom, like we always say, Dom wants to be like Bert. He's from that old generation, but he has a lot of respect and understands where Albie's generation comes from, and he's sort of in that middle stuck. And I think I could see a reality where he realizes the mistakes he's made. He realizes he can't run away from vacation and fix his problems, and that he has to come back and take that stuff back home. But I could see him trying to make changes. Now, what's interesting is we hear his wife on the phone, and it sounds like his wife maybe has moved on, and that's just this similar theme throughout the entire season. It's like never really knowing. There's two sides to every story, and Daphne pinpoints it really well, where she's like, you never really know what's going on in someone's head. Like, you sort of have to take it for face value and, you know, come up with things in your imagination. And that was the sort of big thing. And, you know, we see Tanya there at the end. Tanya's running with her own imagination. You know, my girlfriend and I were sitting side by side, and she was saying, I think that they just wanted to sort of have her in on the investment. I think it may have not been sketchy. I think that's possible. I really do. Like, that could have been a possibility. And we saw in the first season how Tanya's mind sort of gets the best of her, where she starts running with ideas and it's almost like hallucinating. So I do think it's possible that maybe it wasn't premeditated and that things were just in her head. It's also possible that when she saw a picture of Greg, that Greg was actually in on the whole thing. And I think that's probably more likely, personally. What I didn't love about that, it felt like, did anyone else feel that, like, okay, Tanya seemed to be in on it, like she knew what was going on, but at the same time, it was almost like she was written to be like, I don't know what's going on, you know? It was like, and the way they describe her death was sort of derpy, right? Like, it was nice for us as the fans to see her get that, like, you're not gonna take me out, I'm gonna go out my own way. So she's bang, 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 shoots everyone. Like, that was gangster, that was dope. But then the way she dies is like this silly sort of death, which is like, you know, that's the most Tanya way. And to me, this is where I have an issue with how Mike White sort of executed some of these ideas. Is it feels like the show wants to be serious, but at the same time, it feels like it wants to be comedy and funny and these little moments. But like, that felt like a moment to me where you were never gonna get a satisfying death with Tanya. But for her to kind of go up like tripping like that, when she really had no reason to be stressed. Like I mean, she's stressed because she shot, but like, everyone else is handled. She's got the gun. The old dude's up top. I kind of felt like there was no need for it to make Tanya like rush like that. And you know, she can swim, right? So she can jump in the water. Like, for someone, and again, Tanya is a millionaire. She has her own company. She's not dumb. It felt like a dumb moment for her. And she's an icon. I think this is an iconic character. That's what happens with iconic characters. You put them in for such a short amount of time, make the audience want them more, and then you take them away. And I sort of felt like, as a writer, Mike was doing that. It felt like he was more so leaning into that. Like, let's make this character iconic versus let's make this make sense. Someone commented, do we feel bad for Albie and his fam? The money was probably nothing for them, really. I don't feel bad for Albie's family because I think they could afford it. And, you know, it's like what Albie was saying. I think a lot of people interpret that Albie is sort of being manipulated. He's dumb. He's not in on things, whatever. I think the way Albie sees it is like, regardless if she's scamming us, or regardless if she's playing us, like, we can afford it. It's not going to hurt us. So, you know, help someone out. Like, I think Albie has this empathy where he realizes Lucia doesn't want to be in this situation. No one ever wants to be in the situation of being a sex worker. It's sort of like a do or die kind of situation for a lot of people in that industry. And so I think the way Albie sees it is, whether Lucia plays me or not, or she's going to actually use this money, it's still going to go towards a good place, and it's going to go towards a better place than anywhere his father would use it, right? So I was happy with that. Are there any loose ends you wish were tied up at the end? So I was okay with Portia. I was okay with Portia kind of going off and doing her own thing. Portia really ticked me off the entire season. I felt like Portia Portia's again, and this is the problem with Mike's writing, is Portia was too smart to be doing so much dumb shit, you know? Like there was a lot of dumb moments with Portia, and you're the assistant of Tanya. Like your only priority while you're on this vacation should be, all right, what does Tanya need? Let me help her. Let me, plan things, schedule things. Like to me, it was completely unacceptable that the way that they wrote her figuring it out in real time. Portia was figuring it out in real time what was going on. She lays down in the hotel when Jack is out cold, wouldn't even know, and she doesn't leave. That doesn't make much sense to me, But based on what we saw, fine. So Jack is like, what? I guess what other than Jack feeling bad, what would stop him from just doing the plan or keeping her away? Like he's like, these people are very powerful, so we should be careful. But I'm like, but that's gonna affect you because she got away. So why would he really do that? I can't. I felt like it would be more believable that Lucia genuinely felt or cared for Albie than Jack would care for Portia. But the way that it was executed in this final episode, it felt more like Jack had more empathy for Portia than Lucia had for Albie, which it didn't feel that way leading up. And I also felt Lucia, the entire series, despite her having her own agenda, it felt like she genuinely cared about what was going on with Albie. Some of those scenes where she was on her own with Mia, like Albie wasn't seeing those scenes where she was telling Mia, this isn't the life that we want to go. Mia, go be a singer, do your thing. Those sort of things, to me, just felt like it didn't make sense. I was still happy with it. I love the show, I love the series and where it's going. I'm definitely going to do a much better breakdown tomorrow. I just want to kind of get here and talk a little bit. But what are some of your thoughts? Comment down below. Were there any loose ends that you wish were tied up better? And then Mia. Let's talk about Mia for a second. Mia spent the whole season she wants to be a singer and running around. I gotta say, credit to those two for manipulating everyone involved and getting what they wanted. But it was definitely cold. Let's be honest. Like I know we're all cheering for them, but it was definitely cold. Like they could have done. There could have been other people that they did that to. The two couples be what Mr. Brightside is all about. Okay, that does make sense. So someone asked earlier, does anyone feel bad for Albie and his family getting manipulated? I also think it was excellent to see, like, throughout the whole season, to see the three different generations, how their relationship was with women. And, Bert had that sort of coming to Jesus moment where he, like, lets his guard down and is a bit emotional with his family. Then he, like, the next morning comes back and just completely discredits it as if it didn't happen. And I think that's definitely something that would be expected of someone from his generation, right? Like, oh, I wasn't crying. I wasn't, upset about those women who rejected us. They're like, he calls them a bunch of crazies and a loonies. And then Dom and Albie are like, okay, whatever. And then when he gets that hug from Mia, he kind of reverts back into that gross version of himself. And then I particularly like when they were at the airport at the end and that young woman was, who was the young attractive woman walked by. We saw how they all sort of looked back at her to just be like, yeah, these guys are all dogs. People need to remember the show is a character study, not a mystery box. I agree. I think that's very, very big thing as well. Like, and that's why I feel like sometimes the murder can be a little distracting, because I think there's been a lot more new fans for season 2, and I think a lot of people were so struck on the murder, and that's not really what this show is about. The show is just commentary on whiteness in America, in my opinion, and then those subplots of wealth, relationships, sexuality, privilege, manipulation, how power and money can, in that environment, can change who you are. I'm curious, is there anyone from that, at the start of the season you really liked, and then at the end you didn't? Thoughts on people going hard on the theories this season? That definitely happens. That's what makes the weekly format more fun and more engaging, because then you sort of get those fun in-between discussions where people are like, oh, look at this painting, oh, look at this pineapple, oh, there's birds flying, oh, they use the same song for every scene, like, but I think what's important is to realize and remember that the difference between a theory and a prediction is a theory is grounded based on some actions and things we've seen on screen. Predictions are sort of similar, but they can sort of just be founded in nothing that is actually based on what we're seeing here. Favorite character this season? I think Jennifer Coolidge may win an Emmy. I thought she was phenomenal. My favorite character was probably Lucia. I really, really enjoyed her. I really liked Albie. I liked their relationship. They had some really sweet, tender moments, but they also had some great, very aggressive moments. This is a hot take, but I kind of think Tanya is a bad person. And I use the word bad person loosely, but you know, we look at Cam, right? Cam is very vile, very nasty. I think Cam is someone we can all sort of agree we don't love, we don't like him. I know some people like looking at him, but I think overall he's not a great person. But when you think about what Tanya did, Tanya was sort of similar, right? She also cheated on Greg, and despite Greg being not what she needs or whatever, she made the mistake, and that's sort of what they were hinting at all season, that whoever is the person who cheats is the person who's going to end up on their butt, dead, whatever. And when we look at all the different people who we thought as possibilities, Cam technically, we don't know if Cam actually cheated or not. We don't. Like, that's still up in the air. Harper says that she thinks that she did, so I'm going to take it as gospel. But that was already sort of established in their relationship that those two, Daphne and Cam, they don't really care. So it's not cheating per se if both people in the relationship don't really care anymore at that point. When you look at Ethan never cheated. Ethan was accused of cheating. Ethan tried to defend himself, and, you know, he shouldn't have put Harper in that position, but he never actually cheated. I don't think Harper cheated at all. I think she's repulsed by Cam. I'm sure Cam came on to her, as we saw him already do at dinner. Portia probably should have died. I mean, realistically, I think maybe it's because they want to bring that character onto the next season or something. I don't know, but Portia definitely should have died, in my opinion. And like I had alluded to earlier, when you think about the path of going down good and bad, Lucia went down the good path with Albie, so she should have gone off to LA, and that should have been the end of her story, rather than her manipulating him. And I think Portia, she chose the bad path, so she should have to live with that, and there should be consequences for her actions. And I thought there would be a little bit more consequences for people's actions this season. Thrifty Girl Cafe said Tanya could easily have gone on to season 3. I missed the character. Yeah, I would have really loved Tanya to be this continuous character throughout the rest of the series. It's a shame because, as I alluded to earlier, I said I feel like Mike White just killed her to kill her, because she was such an iconic character people love. And sometimes when you take away a character from the audience that the audience loves, it makes that character more iconic and larger and just more people involved. But her death didn't really sit right with me, because I felt that she could have got out of that situation without any problem. There wasn't a lot of pressure other than the old guy. But yeah, that's just too much. Tanya was pressured into doing drugs and drinking alcohol. Not saying she was forced into cheating on Greg, but the truth is that no one makes the right decision while being under the influence. And that is 100% sure. And I think that is definitely a major difference between Tanya and Cam. Is Tanya was being coerced the whole time. She was being manipulated. She had no idea. She thought these people were being genuine. You know, she mentioned in some of the earlier episodes, I think it was 5, that she said she doesn't really let her guard down with people a lot. So she let her guard down with the gays, and the gays, they just stabbed her in the back. They Madame Butterflied her. There's gonna be so many memes of her just talking about the gays. They did this to me. And I believe Mike White is a part of the queer community as well. So, you know, sometimes it's fun to laugh at your own community when you're in your pieces and writing. Mike White had said that the next season, for season 3, and I was shocked that he had released this. I was like, what? He said that the next season, he thinks that it's going to be about death and East Asian culture. So what do you guys think about that? Like, season 3, like, what are your thoughts on there? Like, who is going to be in the next season? Where is it going to be? What are we thinking so far? I think Japan would be a dope spot to do. I think going to India could be cool because he said it was about religion and kind of figuring out yourself and spirituality. So I think that could be pretty cool as well. A character that I want to see go to the season 3. Season 3, I think I would like to see maybe someone come back from the first season. I think his name was Quinn. The young boy who stayed his time in Hawaii. I think that's a common thing that, kids study abroad. They go to the Philippines, India, and places who come from money. And they sort of think they're going to get this spiritual awakening and it's going to change them and all that. And I could definitely see Quinn being that sort of person. I could see Sydney Sweeney's character being that sort of person. The father being that sort of person. From season 2, who I'd want to see come back. I really did enjoy Lucia, but I know it doesn't make sense to have her come back. Season 2, who I want to see come back. That's a tough one. Maybe Daphne. I felt like Daphne was always 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of everyone. And as we got into the second half of the season, her smarts started to come out a little bit more. I think they sort of wanted her to be this Daisy sort of character of like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm just this blonde dummy who is with my man. But in reality, she's been in control the whole time. Like, Cam is the one running back to her all the time, not vice versa. She's not a victim. She doesn't feel bad. She doesn't feel sad. Daphne was definitely one of my favorite characters this season. Who was other people's favorite characters? Alva Cordano says, I see Ethan being even more successful in tech and looking to have a vacation from his work life. Yeah, Ethan certainly could. I feel like, so when I think about this show, like, why do you guys go to vacation, right? People go to vacation because they got, death, a honeymoon in love. They want to have a spiritual awakening. There's issues in their relationship, and they're like, let's just get away, right? And I think Ethan, he got that chance to go away, explore, have some fun, but he also had to like look within. So I don't think we'll see Ethan again, but I sort of think that Ethan did grow from this and learned, and now he's going to. I don't think he's going to go the camera. I think it was important for him to sort of them to have some fire, some passion in their relationship, but that's not who Harper is. She's not gonna let the person that she's with, her significant other, be someone who is out with other people, hooking up and doing whatever they want. Daphne was the queen. Yes, Daphne was definitely the queen this season. If they put her into the next season, I think people will be very happy about that for sure. What are the 3 things that are apparently not polite to discuss at dinner? Money, sex, and religion, because these topics are very personal and exposing. Absolutely. And I don't. It can't be a coincidence, but all of these people at the start were pretty reserved, right? Like, they all had their own reservations and secrets and different things, and they all let their guard down. Lucia, she didn't let them know that she was a sex worker at first, but then she opened up to Albie, which is why, again, that plot line didn't make sense to me. I felt like Lucia and Albie definitely, they didn't have to fall in love, but she could have been like, look, I can't go with you. I really appreciate you doing this. You're super sweet. Someone's going to love you one day, but I can't. But I really appreciate you helping me out. You're going to be a great man, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be nothing like your father. When I look at Ethan came in, kind of that tech quiet guy, thinking his life in romance was a lot happier than it was. It was not. He learned that. Harper learned to sort of voice her frustrations with Ethan and learn to communicate a little bit better. Daphne sort of came in and out the same way she did, similar to Tanya in season 1, which is why I'm sort of leaning on maybe Daphne, because yeah, Daphne had a solution, but it wasn't a healthy solution. It wasn't a. It was toxic, right? So to think about season 3 about religion and those inner healings and thoughts, I could see Daphne coming back next season and sort of trying to be like, you know what? I'm divorcing Cam. I'm gonna get a fresh start. I loved that Cam. We got to see that Cam knew that kid wasn't his. Like when he was in a bathroom, he was fuming, he was pissed, but he knew that kid wasn't his. But he was like, I gotta play the part, right? So they all have these sort of hidden things. So going back to what you said, the 3 things that are not polite to discuss: money, sex, and religion. Those are perfect topics and categories and themes for the White Lotus in general. I just finished, and this was too much, but what I expected from Grow Strong. Yeah, Grow Strong. That's how I felt too. It made sense, but it didn't give you that like, oh my god, what, like finale like we got in like season 1. I had no idea that Armand was going down, and then for it to be in the freaking pineapple suite of all places, like I think the ending of season 1 was definitely more of a punch. But I think overall the journey and the character growth and watching them of season 2 was a lot better than season 1. So season 3 being based around religion would work. Yeah, so Constant Thomas said that. And if you watch the post show with Mike White, he said that death, religion, and it being in Eastern Asia would most likely be where season 3 would take place. Death is an interesting one. As we saw, Tanya said in season 1 and part of season 2, she said that the only thing she hadn't experienced at this point was death. And so, you know, it's almost like Icarus. She's just flying too close to the sun, and she finally got to experience it, and it was the last thing. And what Mike White said, which I also agree with, which was nice, is it wasn't anyone to take out Tanya. The way Tanya shot all those guys, she sort of went out like the boss that we know she is. But then for her to die in that silly way, it's like, yeah, it's Tanya, you know? Tanya's the type of character who she's in a getaway, she gets away from everyone, but she didn't put her seatbelt on, and so she hits a bump and she's dead. So it does make sense, but it is a little frustrating. Alva Cadorno, Daphne on a boss babe retreat. Yes. Do we wish we saw more of a Valentina's plot? Yeah, I agree. I felt like Valentina, when we went into this, I sort of thought the White Lotus was going to be surrounded around the manager's experience with everyone, not just the guests. And I felt like we didn't get enough Valentina, and it was almost like just added in and filler at that point, where it was like, you're not doing much with this. You could have done a lot more. And the fact that Valentina was like freaking out and stressed about being found, it's like, no one's gonna say anything. You can say you were sleeping here, like you're the manager, no one cares, you know. But I do love that Valentina was sweet, and I think Valentina is also placed in this show to sort of show the female, or the woman perspective versus a man's, because if you think about, if it was a man in her situation, he would have been a lot more, what we saw, like with Ethan, right? A lot more jealous, vindictive, angry, physical. But Valentina was like, oh, you know what? I'm not the person for you. Yes, it hurts because I have a crush, but I'm happy for you. I really thought that was a sweet and nice moment when Valentina allowed Rocco to come back and be with Isabella. And she was just sweet about the whole thing. And giving Mia the opportunity, I think she's gonna find a friend in Mia and Lucia, and that's something that's sort of interesting too. I think a lot of times in life we're always looking for someone to fall in love with or become best friends with or close, but it's usually the people that are right around us in our community, in our circle, that we end up developing a close relationship. And as the season went on, where Valentina started opening up and understanding Lucia, understanding Mia a little bit more, they started to have more empathy and understanding of one another. And I just love the idea of Mia sort of teaching her and guiding her and helping her out a little bit. And also Mia being straight up and saying, hey, I think you need to fall in love with the real lesbian woman, but I'm totally happy to be there to, you know, please you and be fun. And I think that's also sort of a difference with men and women as well, is the way that men approach sex. It's like, it's very trophy-like. It's very caveman, oh. Whereas the women in this show, the way that they approach it is, hey, I just want to have fun, or I want to kind of get to know someone. Like, it's a little bit more direct, where the men in the show, the communication is just terrible. It's just god awful. So let's see what other comments we got here. I love how the White Lotus doesn't write sex worker characters as stereotypical. Yes, that was a phenomenal job. And they really just humanized them too, because it's just like, hey, it's work. It's something we want to do. And I've said it before as well. Like, that's the reason why I was a little confused is I felt like giving Lucia an out. No one wants to be a sex worker typically. Of course, there's always some folks who want to do these things, but a lot of people are forced to because they need money or they need help. And I think it would have been nice to see Lucia get out of that situation. If Cam is in the next season, I'll be pissed. Oh no, God, yeah, Cam cannot come back. In fact, the only way I want to hear about Cam is if Daphne had decided she's getting a divorce. Cameron also realized Ethan screwed his wife and that he failed to do the same with Harper. He looked defeated at the airport, maybe planning his revenge. Oh yeah, Cam is down bad. Cam knows that he's got nothing going for him and that he lost, right? Like, he tried to sort of alpha male Ethan, and you know, in the beginning when you watch who Ethan's character is, you almost kind of think, is Ethan gonna get cucked in this season? Because it felt like Ethan just didn't really have that defense, and not that Harper needs to be defended, but there's sort of this like honor of like, you know, when you're in a relationship with someone, like, I'm not gonna let anyone just treat my significant other anyway. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. Like, in the beginning, Harper was telling Ethan the things that Cam was doing, and he dismissed it completely, right? And until he felt threatened of his superiority, his power, his dynamic with Cam, he didn't care at all, honestly. He just dismissed what Harper said. And I think in the end, Cam coming to the dinner table and basically waving the white flag of defeat, it's like, you got punched in the face, you're sitting there, nothing happened, boys will be boys, we're fine. Like, to me, that was the upper hand and the win. And I think Harper genuinely, like, even though she was sort of trying to pull a fast one, being like, you're so stupid, I think Harper genuinely was just like, God, you're such a moron, like, I hate you. And I think she genuinely does not fucking like that guy. Mike Wood said Eastern religion. I think, okay, Eastern religion, excuse me, not Eastern Asian. Tanya shooting them was so silly, to be honest. It was so Tanya of her. I know. I love the way that she shot them. It was like, she literally was just like, it was like, it just worked so well. Like, it was just mindlessly aiming. I thought it was funny too, because I was like, are they really gonna have this woman go out here and use a gun and have no idea what she's doing? I was like, she's gonna drop it or someone's gonna grab it from her. But I loved it. Like, if Tanya was gonna go out, I like that it wasn't from any of those losers. But it was a shame to see her go out that way. Also, side note, did anyone think Mia was pregnant for a second? I don't know what was good with the costume design or costume section of what was going on, because it felt like Mia was pregnant for a second. I was like, that threw me off. The only reason I said that is because someone here, Dirty Vegas, says, I wonder if Daphne would be pregnant by Ethan. Whew, Lord God, let's hope not. I think if anything happened between Ethan and Daphne, it would have been foreplay, a makeout section, something like that. I don't think they went the full round, because I think the thing with Ethan is, in his head, he thought that they had sex, but he doesn't really know that. So for him to sort of, if, for lack of a better term, if Harper went 10%, if Ethan goes 100%, he would feel guilty and just wrong. He did say it was a derpy death. It was so Tanya. Absolutely. People theorize there was a plot line taken out about the grandpa. Wonder what it was about. I mean, it felt like the grandpa was going to be more involved. My guess is that he was going to be, I don't know, there was, in the beginning, I was sort of getting vibes that, like, the dad had gotten with a young girl or someone who was underage, and they had a lot of themes about like, you know, these older men being with young women, and so but they didn't. That never came to fruition. They never did anything with that. My guess is the producers had Warner Brothers probably like, I don't think this is gonna work. I feel like it's too touchy. It's too sensitive for a lot of the like the real life tragedies going on. This isn't something that we can make light of and be fun with. But that's sort of where I think Bert's storyline was going. I like Dom and Bert, two older generation men slowly growing into the understanding and starting to internalizing how their patriarchal behavior affects others and is also ultimately toxic for them too. I think more so Dom learned that than Bert. I think Bert did not learn. As I said, Bert, Bert completely dismisses the fact that he was like crying and emotional because I think when he went back to find his roots and heritage, he thought he was gonna find other men, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, all the men are here, and let's gather and have a drink at a time." When they found women rejecting them, that was very similar to his home experience at home. He got rejected by those same women, and when he comes back the next morning and dismisses those same women, because that's what he's done his whole life, is dismiss women. He does not respect women, does not care about them. It is completely about the patriarchal behavior effects on other people, for sure. Will Greg be in the next season, or will the plot be dropped? I think Greg could be in the next season, but at this point I kind of think let's drop Greg. I mean of all the people to be in all 3 seasons, Greg, ugh, don't do it. Let it be. I think it would be smart for Portia to just ignore it as if nothing ever happened and just go about her life, because as Jack said, these people were very powerful, so just let it be. Let it go. Don't touch it. Alva Cadorna, Mia's fashion choices were on point. No, I love Mia's fashion points. No, don't get me wrong, but there was one scene in this episode where like it felt like her shirt was larger or something, and I was like, is she pregnant? I was confused. What if this is from Thrifty Girl Cafe? What if Cam's wife becomes pregnant with Ethan's baby? It'd be hard to miss this once the baby is born. Season 3, stay tuned. Oh God, that is something I don't want. I think we all really, really like the second season's characters more than the first. So we're all gonna start theorizing of ways of like how to keep them on to the next season. But we're gonna have a clean slate, especially if it's in what did this Carly McKee said? She said East Asia, or was it Eastern religion? So I think we're gonna see a new set of characters, a new set of wealth. Someone joked on Twitter. They were like, oh, there's not enough black people in this, and a lot of black Twitter was like, we're fine not being in this show. So it'll be, I think season 3 will still be primarily about white people traveling to places and sort of invading the locals. It was interesting how in season 1 the locals were the most affected, and it felt like the rich came in and affected them. In this season, it felt like the locals affected the rich people a lot more, and they have more that they're walking away from. Let's see. Alva Cordana. No wonder Cam feels the need to play the alpha all the time. Oh yeah, totally. Cam got out alphaed this at the end here, and I think he thought he could walk over Ethan like he was in college. But ultimately, Cam invited Ethan on this trip because he wanted that account. And the reason why he wanted that account is because Ethan is doing better than Cam, right? So in the silent war between these two, I would say Ethan ultimately comes out on top. Plus, Ethan has the girl that Cam can never have. I mean, even the fact that Cam went and kissed Harper, kissed Harper, he never actually conquered or got her because she was never really interested in him. No wonder Cam feels the need to be alpha. The scene with the relatives and the Grassos man was so satisfying. Oh, I know. Chef's kiss. Those nasty men. This scene's theme was sexual politics, and that definitely included generational sexism and toxic masculinity. This show is about class warfare as well. And then Carly McKee says totally. Yeah, you guys you women are 100% right. there aren't too many shows that do that super well, and I was definitely satisfied with seeing those three generations of men and their relationship with women and sex and the geopolitical structures and the patriarchy and all that sort of thing. I felt that Portia was sort of dragged along in a weird way. I felt like, did anyone else feel, for Gen Z women out there, was this an experience that you could see really happening? I think it could have definitely happened to someone who was sort of young, naive, hasn't saw a lot of the world. But I think a lot of young women today would have gotten out of that situation pretty quickly. And also, a lot of women don't have the luxury that men do. Like, okay, if a man is assistant of someone, they can sort of be a little bit more free and not thinking about, oh my god, I'm gonna get fired. But women constantly have to think about this because women are not seen the same way, and wrongly so, in the workforce. I don't care what industry you're in, women are not seen the same way as men are, and it's sad, and that shouldn't be the way. But I think it Portia definitely would not have just been so whimsidaisical, let me follow all of these boys and blah. Like, even if she knows she want to have fun, and I think that was a difference with Albie and her. They sort of made Albie almost like, oh yeah, fine, go with your other man, I'm gonna find someone else. That didn't seem very characteristic of him as well. Do we think we're gonna see more from Portia and Albie? Portia and Albie, they exchange numbers. I feel like it's sort of a hard thing for Portia not to be like, hey, my boss died back there, so I feel like Albie might be like, I'm good, I don't want to be involved in any of this. He may just go back to his regular life. A lot of people wanted to know if Laura Dern was going to show up because she was the voice actor. We saw that they clearly had a different actress for the mother. That was unexpected because people really made it seem as if that was going to be a thing. But I was fine with that. That didn't really bother me. Let's see. Was Greg... Did we think Greg was going to come back? Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me, right? Like, I mean, we talk about a plot hole that sort of was, like, unresolved. Greg said he was going to come back in a couple days. Why did Tanya not reach out? Why did Portia not reach out and be like, hey, Greg, like, do you need me to make any arrangements? Portia is, like, S-tier terrible assistant. Like, what did she seriously do for Tanya this entire trip? What was the job of Portia? And between Portia and Mia, I'm like, they were just sort of here for the ride, I suppose. Let's see what else we got here. I can say a lot of young women are afraid to say no. 100%. You're right. So that could really be why Portia just sort of went, because it's like you have this looming threat of like, this man is more physically empowering than me. You're also in a foreign country. You don't know how women are necessarily respected or listened to in this other country. So maybe the man's word has more power and intent than the woman's word. So yeah, that's a good point, Carly. Especially in situations they could fear themselves for danger. What is it about the show that you think draws so many people in? So I think what draws people in, it's very similar to reality television and like the Kardashians and that lifestyle. It's like you like to be a fly on the wall of these people, and you like to believe that their lives are super dysfunctional and normal, like our lives, and by our I mean middle class, lower class people. And when you throw in at the very beginning of a scene, it's yes, exactly, voyeurism. When you throw in like the first scene that there's a death, if you have a death, a fight scene, someone falling in love and then getting their heart broken, you're gonna get invested at front because you're like, whoa, where is this going? If you guys like this sort of mystery thing and murders, check out Only Murders in the Building. That's another show I really, really enjoyed. And I think I'm gonna cover that when season 3 drops for that. So definitely try to catch up. But I would say those are the two things that reasons why people love this show. And then the weekly format, like all of you who are on this stream right now, thank you all. Make sure you guys subscribe. I make content every day. We got this cool advent calendar thing going on. But I think for people to have that weekly format, it feels sort of like back in the day when you were younger and like there'd be a new episode of, I don't know, Zoe 101 or something like that. And you're like, you go back to school and all your friends are chatting about it. I really, really like that. And in contrasting that with a show like Wednesday was really fun and great too, but when you have it all released at the same time, everyone's watching it at their own pace. Whereas a show like this, they start to get some buzz and spike, and then when you get to those last few episodes, people are like, oh my god, let me binge this and catch up. And that's where HBO's really done a phenomenal job, is creating buzz and marketing and all that. And the post show is just really, really well done. Like, I think we all remember growing up with the Blu-rays, DVDs, things like that, where you could see behind the scenes. You could see commentary from the writers, directors, the actors. And that is sort of a lost art with streaming, because with streaming, you just watch the show, you're in, you're out, done. But what HBO has done so well is adding in these, little things to get to know the characters and sort of to get their insight as the actors. Because when you're producing a television show or film, you have the words on the script, and then you allow the actors to interpret that. And once you get to set, they're the experts. They know these characters up, down, left, right more than the directors and writers sometimes. When I produced my own short back in college, like I would even have like some actors come up to me and like, are we sure that would happen? And you're like, it opens up your perspective. And when you have a show with so many subplots, so many different characters, I think there's a lot of room for growth and interpretation, and allowing the audience to sort of be a part of that process. And with HBO shows, that HBO shows typically have larger cast. They typically have an ensemble. There are definitely favorites, but I think like when you look at a show like Game of Thrones, Succession, stuff like that, there's Gossip Girl. It's an ensemble, and it gives everyone who's watching someone to sort of be rooting for, or hoping that their route, or you're preying on their downfall. Let's see. Alva Cordana says, I thought Albie's character was interesting coming from such a privileged background. He was way too trusting. Yeah, I think Albie represents, though, the millennial and Gen Zer who is trying to break the cycle and chain of the patriarchy that got their wealth into where it is today. I think that's also, not to get too off the rails with it, but I think that is probably one of the key dynamics towards society and people growing, is having people actively trying to break that cycle. Like, I know Albie is well aware of his wealth, his background, his privilege, and all that, and that's why ultimately he gives Lucia the money, because it doesn't matter if Lucia is scamming him or not. He says to his father, let this sort of be, what was the way he phrased it? He basically said, let this money be like repents for the things that you've done. And we can afford to have it. So even if Lucia is playing us, it's going to go to someone who needs that money, right? And so I think that was a really well done and executed. I love Murders in the Building Season 1, Episode 7 is what really drew me in. Oh, yeah. If you guys like mystery and ensembles and really funny, definitely got to check that one out. Alva Cardona, once we've got a show that pointedly criticizes white people's problems. Absolutely, yes. I've heard a lot of people talk about how the show's about class and indigenous people and locals. That all is true. Those are themes, but ultimately this show is about whiteness and white privilege. And if that went over your head, ta-da! Like that's what this is about. I think it's Schadenfreude. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I don't know Schadenfreude. Pleasure derived by someone from another person's misfortune. Ah, yes. We call that preying on someone's downfall. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. You like to watch these people live these chaotic lives because it's not your own. Carly says, I agree, Alva. I had to look up what it was. Pleasure derived from someone's. Oh, duh. By the way, Carly is my girlfriend in the chat, which is why she's always a step ahead of me. Do we like watching these people fail, knowing all the privilege they have? So, no, because I like watching Tanya, and I think Tanya was a good person, good heart, but she comes from a background where she doesn't have the wherewithal or awareness to know what you're doing is not right. Like in the first season when she's with Glinda, I think that was her name, Belinda, excuse me, and she tries to give her the spa. She has good intentions, but she also knows that, okay, I'm just getting wrapped up in the moment again and too excited. Let's see. I like to see them humanized. To be human is to fail. Absolutely, Alva. Alva's crushing it in the comments down here. Yeah, they're human beings, right? Even the worst of the worst, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they're human beings as well. And a lot of times those people are just products of their environment and that generational struggle. Like, if this was a real show, Albie probably would not be as progressive and, aware of these things. I think that's certainly changing with avenues of social media and people having these conversations and shows and things like that. It's certainly changing. And I think people are just trying to, like, understand each other a little bit more, but I think that Albie was ultimately just, he's a fictional character put into the show to showcase this is what it would be optimistic to believe that the next generation could be like. I like to see them humanized. Albie mentioned karmic payment. Yes, karmic payment is what he said. That was the way he had phrased it. Who would you want to go to a White Lotus hotel with and where? All right, we're going to make a couple of these the final because we're heading up onto an hour now. I think, so now that we've seen season 1 and season 2, I think for season 1, the person I would want to go on vacation would be probably, this is a weird answer maybe, but Quinn. Quinn was like sort of on his phone doing his thing, but he was also, once he finally put it down, he started embracing things. Season 2, I think I would have liked to go on vacation with Daphne. And if you watch some of my first videos, I was not feeling that at all, but I think Daphne is the type of girl who's like, I'm going to treat people who treat me with respect, love, and positive vibes with the same type of energy. And if someone's not matching that, cool. And I think with Harper, she tried to give Harper that olive branch, like, hey, there's not too many of us girls who can talk to one another and be a part of this world. But I think Harper had so much prejudice towards Daphne and assumed that Daphne was like not as smart as her or understand these things, and the reality is it was vice versa. It was Harper who was sort of behind and missing the ball there. So I think Daphne is who I would want to go on a trip with the most, and where. I love the fact that it was Hawaii. I know it's super cliche, and I know the locals hate when us on the mainland come over there, but I really, really want to go to Hawaii. I think going to one of the Asian countries, Japan, China, could also be kind of cool to explore. Being from America, being from Boston, that is probably the furthest point you could travel. And it's really, really difficult for someone from my background and just being in that New England area to travel to those places. So I love to see that in television. I also think Australia would be cool. With Australia, you can sort of get into the whole thing of with the critters and the bugs. And also Australia is just beautiful. And I'm sure the actors would be beautiful because everyone from Australia is beautiful. Let's see here. I thought it was hilarious when Tanya expressed regret on not building the poor person's spa with Maui girl. I think she's a witch. She casts a curse on me. Yeah, that was a really funny moment. And And see, that's what makes it sort of, again, I think that those men were plotting on Tanya's downfall, but it's hard to, Tanya's an unreliable narrator because the first season she started like losing it a bit, and then when she went to get the reading from the not the horoscope person, the fortune teller, thank you. When she went to the fortune teller, she just completely dismissed everything she said. She's like, "You're wrong. I think that woman put a curse on me." So she also was not very receptive to the locals, and I think, again, I think her demise and the end of Tanya's story being here does make the most sense, but it obviously hurts because we love Jen. We love Jen. Quinn would appear as a spiritual guru in the Asian White Lotus Hotel. LOL, whitewashing of spirituality with the main theme. Oh, totally, Alva. Totally. That is exactly what the route. Like, this next season is gonna be all about oh, let me go to India and meditate and do all these things. But when it comes to actually like, oh, you have to take your shoes off. Oh, you gotta like. This isn't something that people do in Eastern religion, I don't believe, but I'm just saying, like, you gotta get your hands dirty, get in the mud. Oh, we eat crickets, we eat bugs. That's where, rich people kind of stop. They're like, you guys got like a burger joint around here? And I think we're gonna see a lot of that kind of thing, where people think that they want this spiritual awakening and spirituality, and in reality, it's just gonna be like nothing, Quinn from the White Lotus season 1 will be back as a Matthew McConaughey Deepak Chopra hybrid. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I could definitely see Quinn coming back. Like I said, the person that I want it to be is Daphne. Before I get out of here, like, where do you guys want to see this next season take place? We've got in India, we've got in Dubai, I've heard people say, we've got in China. Is there anywhere specifically that is going on right now that you guys think, oh, hey, let's check this spot out? You read a couple comments here before I head out of here. This was a great season. This has been one of my favorite streams to do with you all. Thank you all for joining in and like being a part of the Circle Club. I really have enjoyed watching this series with you. Comment down below, what are some other series we should watch together? Is there anything else that I haven't been covering that you think, oh yeah, check this out? All right. Namaste. Greece and Thailand. Ooh, I like both of those ideas. All right, y'all. This has been fun. Dirty Vegas said Paris, maybe, or Spain. I think we're not going to get those until maybe season 4. Thank you all for watching. It's been awesome. Like I said, make sure you subscribe. You know why we always say just be you here? We say just be you at the end of the video because ultimately the best part about the internet is the comment section and interacting with one another. And I hate when people get nasty in the comments, when people disagree and all that. So be respectful down there. Be kind to one another. I will block you or ban you from my channel. I don't care if my subscription number goes down. That is not important to me. What is important is just people just respecting one another and having good conversation down there. This has been awesome. Thank you guys so much. Alva, thank you so much for being on the chat. Appreciate you. Dirty Vegas, Carly, really appreciate you showing up here as well. Thrifty Girl Cafe, awesome as well. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, just be you. Peace.